Hi everyone, Niamh here and welcome to my art journaling channel. Today we're going to be making a mixed media piece using up lots of supplies, and in this project I'm using up lots and lots of washi tape. So this page is being created for the Show Us Your Media challenge, which is run by Ranger Inc. and the Dina Wakley Media, and the prompt for this month is paint is never wasted unless it's still in the tube. And you needed to use something up that you've been hoarding on the page. So I decided to break out my washi tapes. I love these washi tapes, and I've got a few. I don't have as many as lots of other people, but I don't tend to use them very often, even though they're beautiful designs. So I thought that I would break them out and use up as much as I possibly could, because I'd really like to get the new set of the Dina Wakley washi tapes as well, and I couldn't justify it while I had most of the rolls sitting there unused. So I'm just covering a double spread in my smaller Dina Wakley journal, and I'm covering up the craft paper. I'm still having a love-hate relationship with craft paper. I find it a little bit difficult to use, so I figured I'd kill two birds with one stone. I'm using up my Dina Wakley journal and I'm using up my washi tape. The first thing I'm doing once I've applied all the tape is I'm covering over it with gesso, clear gesso. Now the reason for this is I wanted to give the washi tape a little bit of tooth to paint over. The washi itself, this particular one, has a shiny surface. It's not glossy, but it's not matte. So I wanted to make sure that if I applied paints over the top that it would actually adhere to it. So I've just covered over the surface with a thin layer of clear gesso, and now I'm just drying it off. My idea is to use one of the collage faces. Again, all the stuff on this page is Dina Wakley Media products. Have the collage face on one side and do some stenciling or some paintwork on the other side. So I stuck this down on the page, and while the gesso was a little bit damp, it still wasn't enough to stick the image down. So I've gone back in and I've put a generous coat of matte medium down in the background. You can see the sort of white raised bits where there's quite a lot of matte medium underneath. Now I'm putting, again, another generous amount of matte medium on top of my image. I'm really generous when I do this because I want to get it as translucent as possible. And you can see in this process, even though it's sped up, I spend an awful lot of time then going back over and almost like putting contact on the books, pushing out any excess medium from underneath to make sure it's adhered as firmly as possible to the surface I'm adhering it to, and also so that any extra medium trapped underneath is pushed out. While it will dry clear, if you've got a large amount trapped underneath a surface, it's going to be slightly cloudier and it's going to take a lot longer to dry. So it is really worthwhile being patient and doing a really good job if you're gluing down any of your collage mediums. Collage papers onto your page, particularly if you want them to look almost translucent. On the other side, what I wanted to do was to not hide the fact that I had so much washi tape on the page, but to just to blend it into the background more, so it was less of a strong focal point. So I'm just using a really thin layer of gesso and scraping it over the surface, and you can see because I've got that clear gesso in the background, it's giving the white gesso a little bit of tooth. I haven't waited for that to dry. I'm just using one of the stencils to go back in and remove some of the paint, so you can see some of the patterns coming up from background, but the colours have been pushed into the background a lot more than they were. They're not as in your face as they were before. So when I'm doing this, I'm going to dry between each layers. I'm going to add about 3 layers of acrylic paint over the top, and I'm going to dry or mostly dry between each layer so that I'm not removing the layer I have before. Next I'm going in with some cheddar, which is sort of an orangey yellow colour. And again, while it's still wet, I'm going back with a different stencil pattern and removing some of that paint. Again, so I can see some of the white poking through and some of the washi from the background poking through. And then I'm drying it. By drying it, it means when I apply the next layer of paint, that yellow or the cheddar paint isn't going to move. Now I'm going in with some fuchsia and doing the same technique again. In each case, apart from the gesso and the white gesso to begin with, I've diluted the acrylic paint with a little bit of water just to make it a little bit more fluid and a little bit more translucent, almost like I'm applying glazes over the top. So when I was doing this, I was finding that the red had taken over, the pinky red had taken over a little bit much, so I got my wet wipe and just knocked it back again, rubbed out some patterns so you can still see some of the honeycomb in the background and some of the white peeking through. I'm really loving how I can see the washi through the face image though. I wanted to keep that as much as possible. So I decided instead of using paint, I'd go in with some scribble sticks. And I've just wet the scribble sticks and I'm scribbling onto my image, really haphazardly to make it as loose as possible, just like the lines in the image. So I'm going in with some marine and some lapis, and then using some blushing on the cheeks and on the lips. I'm not actually going to colour the face, I'm going to leave that so that the washi shines through, just adding some highlights onto the face. Now I'm just going in with a little bit of eggplant to add some shading around her neck and around the edge of her face and under her hairline. I struggle with this image because it's very androgynous. It could be male or female. It's neither one or the other to me, so it's an interesting one. While I was doing this and waiting for the paint to dry, I was thinking about what else I was going to add to it. So I'm going through my collage words, and I was priming a Posca paint pen is what I was doing, but I was also grabbing some collage words. So I'm just going in with an acrylic paint pen just to add in the whites of the eyes, and these are the Jane Davenport Drama Sticks, which are waterproof oil pastel. So once they dry, they're waterproof. You can actually put some more stuff over the top of them. They're incredibly creamy, incredibly soft, but they've got beautiful pigmentation and they go over the top of things really easily. So I was able to add some extra detail into the hair. So the collage word that you saw me flicking around before was "You Are Worth It." So I was working out where to put that on the page. And then I came across the Dina Wakley washi that I'd set aside, which is the words, I think it says, "Oh, make my voice strong and my spirit alive." Now I actually use this washi a lot, and I was originally going to put it around her neck like a choker, but I didn't like it there. I got the idea to trim around either side to make it slightly wavy and use it as part of the hair, because the colours actually matched in with the hair colours that I'd used and sort of replicated the lines of the drama sticks that I put down. By incorporating the washi into the hair as well, it sort of brings the background into the foreground a little bit and gives a common tie between the whole piece. It also picked up the colours in the eyes, which I really liked, so it gave just that little bit more focus, focal point to the image of the person. The other thing, by trimming down the sides, I was able to sort of bend the words a little bit more, so you didn't get big folds in it, and it sort of just bent around. You could still read it and it didn't destroy the message of what was on the page. So because I put that down, the washi actually sticks quite well. If you're really concerned about it coming up or peeling up, just put another coat of matte medium over the top. I didn't do that because I do have the scribble sticks in the background, which are water activated, so if I put matte medium over the top, it could move the scribble sticks. And it was fairly well glued down to begin with, but if you're really concerned about it, you can certainly put another coat of matte medium over the top. I was really happy with the left hand side page. I was still wondering what I wanted to do on the right hand side page. So I've got this quote again from Dina Wakley, "You Are Worth It," from her collage words, the second release, and I'm sticking that down on my page. But it looked really bare to me. It didn't tie enough with the other page. To my mind's eye, it didn't at the time. Now I'm looking at it, I think I could have got away with it. But I wanted to put a quote on my page as well. So I'm getting out my Tim Holtz foam stamps. These are the large woodcut block stamps. And the quote I decided to put in was, "Stand up for yourself, you are worth it." Stand up for yourself always, I think so. So I'm just using this Jane Davenport squid ink. It's a hybrid ink which is waterproof again when it dries. It's like a cross between a dye and a pigment ink. It's a fairly opaque black ink, but it looks slightly less opaque because I'm using the foam stats to apply it, and also it's being applied on a textured background, so that's why you sort of see those patchy bits. I quite like it, particularly because it's a wood block grain. It gives that hand carved effect. So this is pretty much the completed journal page. It was a fairly quick and simple page to put together. The only thing that I do to finish off this page is to put some white Stabilo oil pencil as a shadow around my letters. And I tend to do that with most quotes that I have, just to help it stand out a little from the back and to finish it off. I'm also heat setting the ink because I just want to make sure that it's definitely dry. It dries really, really quickly, but because I was putting the shadow around it, I didn't want to get myself covered in ink or smudge the ink if it was still wet. That's just something I've always got in the habit of doing. You don't have to do it, but it's a good habit to get into. I also put some shadowing around the quote as well. So this is the completed page. It was lots of fun to do, and I'm so glad that I was able to use up so much of my washi stash, and I'm looking forward to purchasing the new range of washi too. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing to my channel, and I hope you come again and visit and see what we're up to next time. Thanks. Bye.